it's really about data, not emotion. So from each launch, you looked at what worked. I hope you're still keeping spreadsheets and things from each launch that we've given you, and just really analyzing and looking at what can be tweaked and improved. Like even sometimes making that small little change can help to improve your webinar show up rate. And during the last launch, we talked a lot about that, getting more people on the webinar, because we know if we can do that, then that's going to just warm them up even more and increase the conversion. And sure, it did. So that was really amazing. And that's something I hope our listeners can also take away from this, is that when you do something, you wear your heart on your sleeve, you go out there and do it and launch for the first time, and you talk about your program for the first time. It's okay if you hear crickets, because it's only the first time. You got to keep doing it over and over again. But it's not just about consistency, but it's looking at what worked and what didn't, and then getting better at it. Hi, I'm Charlene Oy, dietitian turned business and marketing coach, and you're listening to the Nutrition Business Show. Hey there, welcome back to the Nutrition Business Show. I'm so thrilled to have you here with me. Now, if you're someone who is currently feeling stuck in your business, you can't seem to see a way forward, perhaps you're feeling capped by your capacity or your income, or maybe you're feeling undervalued in the work that you do, then today's episode is for you. I'm joined by a very special long-time client, Leigh Merotto. She is a gut-focused IBS and fitness dietitian from Canada, and we've been working together since 2021. When Leigh first came to me, her business was built around single consults. She had a full caseload, was working really long hours, 6 days a week. And she felt that no matter how much she does, she was just struggling to move the needle forward in her business. And over time, by implementing the strategies, the processes, systems, and frameworks that we teach inside Momentum today, everything shifted for Leigh's business. And today, Leigh has built a wonderful business serving amazing clients through her different programs. She's got a podcast in place, a team to support her, and she's just had her best year yet in business in 2025. So in this episode, Leigh shares what's changed for her from raising her prices, struggling with mindset blocks, her practice towards a hybrid program model, and a lot of the challenges that she had to face in order to grow her business to where it is today. Now, before we dive in, if you're watching this and listening to this podcast in real time, the 6-figure signature program Bootcamp kicks off tomorrow. It's going from February the 3rd to the 5th. In this bootcamp, we teach you the same exact frameworks and the strategies that Leigh implemented in her business to transition her practice from 101 to signature hybrid program model, allowing her to not just grow her income, but still maintain the results that she gets her clients, providing amazing support without burning her out and working longer hours. And the goal of this bootcamp is to teach you the practical systems to help you create your signature program fast in just 3 days using the AI systems that we're going to teach you, and help you to build a practice that is not just sustainable, but is built around the lifestyle and the freedom that you want to create. Doors are going to be closing tomorrow when I go live. There's just a few more tickets left, so I would love to see you there, especially if your goal is to grow your business and create a sustainable schedule for yourself and have that balance in life. Then I would love to invite you to the bootcamp and see you there. I cannot wait for you to dive into my conversation with Leigh today. So let's dig in. Hey Leigh, I'm so excited to have you on the Nutrition Business Show. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. So why don't we kick off with just a quick introduction for our listeners about who you are and what you do?
Awesome, yeah. So I am a registered dietitian and coach specializing in IBS, gut health, and fitness. I empower active individuals to take control of gut symptoms and live their active life with confidence through whole body integrative strategies. I am based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, But I do work with clients and have a community across the world as well. So I run mainly an online virtual practice, which I very much enjoy. It's been virtual since COVID times, so it's been a long time now. And I have 2 signature programs. So one is my Gut Harmony Method program, where I help individuals with IBS break free from their symptoms, regulate bowel habits, get back to their life. And then my other program is more fitness focused, so helping clients with body composition goals, performance, who also deal with more mild to moderate gut symptoms.
That's amazing. It sounds like you've got so much clarity around what you do, which is so good. And we've been working together for a very long time now, on and off a few times. But I want to take our listeners back to 2021 when we first started working together. Shall we chat to our listeners about what your business looked like back then?
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I went fully online the start of COVID, so about March 2020. Prior to that, I didn't have my business. It wasn't my full-time thing at the time. So I had some different like contract roles and worked at like a gym and a clinic. But at that time, I decided just like cut everything out. I want to go into my business full time and focus on that. So that went really well for a period of time. And I was seeing a lot of clients, like getting a lot of referrals. I think it was a good time for like nutrition practitioners and dietitians because everyone was just like at home. So they were ready to like work on their nutrition because they had a lot of time. So they were more motivated and had the space for it. So it was a good time transitioning into doing it full time. And I had experimented with moving into packages. So trying to package my services in a way that like kind of made sense. I was somewhat trying to get a target audience, but I was still pretty broad at that time, trying to focus a little more on the gut health and fitness stuff, but still seeing kind of like a mix of people. And it was going really well, but I would say I was quite busy. Like my weeks were pretty packed. So it was good in a sense, but I was on the verge of burnout, I guess, before we had first connected.
Yeah, well, you had done very well for yourself up to that point, I must say. To start a practice and be online during the COVID times is certainly not easy. So I remember when you first came to me, we were talking a lot around a few key things. You know, first of all, it was around your income, getting more stability at that stage. We also talked about how to get clients to come back more, so you have that retention, and then also pricing of your packages and all of that. So can you expand a little bit more around that? You know, what were some of the key challenges that you were facing with clients?
Yeah, I think a big one was just my schedule was so full. Like I was seeing clients pretty much 6 days a week. At that point, I was still seeing people in the evenings, like sometimes 7:30. But that would be like also starting the day pretty early and seeing people on Saturdays, which I didn't love, but
I remember that.
Yeah, I felt like I had to do it at the time, and that people wouldn't be okay with moving things just to weekdays. And schedule's like pretty packed. I remember some weeks I had 25 appointments, which for me felt like a lot. Like I know if pro hospital dietitians are working in clinic, like sometimes you see people like back to back, but I went pretty in depth with my sessions, so it was pretty draining to have that many clients on the schedule. And I just felt like probably by the end of the week, like just not enough energy to give back and couldn't be like my full self or the best coach that I could be, just seeing so many clients and like just feeling so spent at that time. And like I said, I had tried to move into packages, so that helped a bit with the client retention, but I wasn't kind of being too strict on like, you have to do a minimum time commitment. Like people could do a package or they could just do a one-off consult at the time, which still led to kind of seeing some people just for 1 or 2 sessions, which as we know now is like not very rewarding because you can only do so much in the first session. And a great part about working with a client is seeing them transform and evolve and being able to like check in and continue the journey together. So I wasn't getting kind of that satisfaction, I guess, from a lot of clients too. So there were a lot of things that needed to shift at that time.
Yeah. And what led you to reach out to me at that point? What was the tipping point for you?
Like I said, I was very happy with where I'd gotten to that point and feeling good with business and like proud of myself that I got into it full time. But I think just knowing that there was like additional steps I could take to continue to grow and improve my freedom overall and still run like a successful business. I think there were a lot of like business coaches on the social media space at that time. I was getting a lot of like cold messages. So I kind of had like a little bit, sorry, Charlotte, but like a little like icky feeling about business coaches at the time. So it kind of like left me a little hesitant, but I was listening to a few and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then I had a friend who mentioned your name and was like, well, if I were to work with someone, it would be Charlotte. And I was like, okay. So then I looked into you more and I booked a discovery call. And then, yeah, we ended up chatting and what you said made sense. And I thought, you know what, I could like keep trying to do things like my own way. But I do believe in the power of like having someone who's an expert in the area and a coach just to like help you with direction and guidance. And like it's okay to ask for help sometimes, even if you feel like you're really good at what you do. I think it's still very valuable to have someone to give you more direction, and then that can just help accelerate your process even further. So we talked about it. I like to chat through it with my partner and kind of stressed about the decision for a couple of days because it was an investment. But I just decided, you know what, I haven't invested in this yet, and I think it's the right time to take the leap and try something different.
I do have to clarify though, I don't think I sent you a cold DM. I mean, that's not my thing.
No, and you did not.
Good.
Did not. I looked at it on my own accord. But I had been getting a lot from business coaches. So yes, good clarification.
Yeah. I just like to say that because I think, you know, a lot of people get very binged. Like to this day, I still get a lot of cold DMs in my request box. And yeah, I just still find them really annoying to deal with in a sense because Instagram, it's a platform for connection, for getting to know someone. And if someone's reaching out to you in a way that you don't like and it makes you feel uncomfortable, I think that's an indication to the relationship starting that way and where it's going to go. And so it's something that I never felt comfortable receiving. So I would never do that to anyone. Yeah. So Leigh, thank you for sharing that. I think what you said in terms of how you were feeling at that stage, it wasn't that you were having a problem with leads. It was you were getting lots of clients coming to you. It's exciting. You're growing your business and it got to a point where it felt a bit unmanageable in a sense. You're working a lot more than what you like. And I remember in the early days, we talk a lot about your core values around having that flexibility with your schedule, not working into the evenings and not working on the weekends. So I'm very happy to see that you have achieved and ticked off that goal. And of course it's work in the progress, so it's never perfect, but you're not working on weekends anymore and seeing clients then.
Yeah, just fun work on the weekends. More creative work, which I'm okay with. I feel like there's some work that gives you energy, some work you need to set a little more boundaries around. So
I'm curious because you were really busy during that time seeing clients and all of that, but you were hitting a limit as to what you can do and your income was hitting a limit as well. What do you feel was the busy work that was keeping you just constantly working and not being able to reduce your work time? What were you spending time on?
I think it was a lot of the one-on-one client work, just following up with like notes, resources, not being super specific on who I was helping, although I was trying to like niche down into the IBS and more the fitness space, but hadn't really developed like a ton of, I guess, resources or things that could be repurposed to help save time was a big one. And then I think the way that I was following up with people about whether they did want to do packages or like continue on, and sometimes even with chasing up on payments, that took quite a bit of my time and energy, which I didn't enjoy. And I think I just had like less systems, less automations at that time. There's been a lot of things that I've built, like even over the last 4 or 5 years to help streamline things. And
your business looks so different today.
Yeah.
There were obviously quite a few things that we worked on, which is work in progress when it comes to scaling a business, like not just systems, but your offerings, your marketing, social media, all of those kind of things. And one of the first things I remember that we did together was I said to you, Leigh, you need to increase your prices. You need to try and transition your clients into packages so you have more predictability in your income and you get more fulfillment working through clients and getting them to the end goal as well. Yeah. And I remember you were very hesitant at the start, especially around increasing your prices. So what made you, I suppose, obviously we were working together, so you kind of had to listen to me. But yeah, how did that go? Like, what gave you the confidence to do that?
Yeah, it did feel like a big jump at the time. I don't want to say like specific prices, but it felt like it was almost like double what I've been charging. Yeah, I think I was hesitant just to see how people would like respond and I guess to get more no's and then see my income drop. But the way that you had told me, I think we talked about some tactics to use on discovery calls just to like highlight, yeah, that was a big one actually, highlighting more the value and like the transformation that the program will provide and not so much just what the like inclusions or elements are were a big one. And then using tools from you had a resource on like conducting discovery calls and really like pulling out what the person's struggles are and just talking about that on the call and then framing the program in a way of how your program will help them like address those pain points. So that gave me more confidence on the calls. And then I think once I had like a couple people who signed up at the new price point, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to work. This is okay.
And you build that confidence as you have more practice in. And I think when it comes to what we charge, that's often a big challenge for a lot of dietitians, going from, if they're in Australia, that bulk billing model or how much we are supposed to charge or what everyone else is charging, and going beyond that, charging more and charging premium prices. That's always a challenge for a lot of people to take that scary step to do it. For the dietitian who's struggling with like imposter syndrome and self-doubt and they're just worried about people saying no, is there any tips that you can share with them in terms of like mindset shifts you had to make, or, you know, how you talk to yourself through the no's and picking up the courage to go offer that again to the next person?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just reminding myself of like the results that I had gotten with clients was a big one. Even sometimes I'll like look at like past testimonials or client messages and just remind myself of what I can provide and offer someone, and just remember that my program has a lot of value. Like I took a lot of care to create it. I really connect with my clients and like do the best I can to help them, and that's worth the that cost, and I have to charge what I'm worth as well and the value that I provide. So I think just reminding myself of that. And then if I do get no's, I usually just kind of frame it as like, not everyone is a good fit for me as well. And not every client is like your ideal client. So sometimes you'll just have people that are maybe not a good fit for you, or they're not ready right now. Like I've had people who say that they don't want to, or they can't afford it at this moment, and then they come back a few months later. So even just reminding myself that sometimes it's just planting a seed or like making a connection that may grow into something more fruitful like down the track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for someone at the start who's very new to doing discovery calls as well, I like what you said about planting that seed and having the conversations, because the more conversations you have, the more you get to know about your ideal client, hearing about the challenges that they face and learning about how to provide more value in your program. And a lot of times people think about what they charge as in how much time they're spending with the client. Mm-hmm. But we forget about the time it takes to prep for the session, to review the notes that they sent or any results that they sent through. The time you might spend providing support via the phone call if they do call you, or emailing, and years of studies that you've done, or upskilling to become who you are today. And so a lot of people forget about all of that. Like even through your experience, you've increased your price a few times. And each time we do that, it feels scary. It feels like, oh my gosh, what if people say no? That is the most common question or feedback I get, you know, with our clients when I say that. They're like, oh, what if they say no? Then my response is always, how can we get better at helping them say yes? And it's not by any means forcing someone to make that sell, but it's understanding how do you convey the value of your program and explaining how this is going to help them. And if it's a no, it's not a no forever, it's just a no for now. And that person might come back, which has happened quite a lot for you, and it's the same for me as well. Just seeing when someone is ready, they have had a good connection with you in the past, when they're ready, then they will come back if it's right for them and for you.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So I'm so happy to see you transform, build that confidence over the years and flourish. And we reconnected again towards the end of last year, a few months before the end of last year, and we talked about your launches, helping you prepare for that. And it was November, I believe, when you had one of your biggest launch to date, which is so exciting. Congratulations once again. What do you think led to the success of where you're at in business now?
Yeah, I think a big one, well, what we worked on together, I would say the two biggest things were, one, like creating the signature program. So I think creating a course component for my program, and then later adding on the group component really just made it a much more scalable program option that gave me back more time, but also I could serve my clients better because it didn't need to just be all one-on-one. Like we had the different support elements that were built into the program. And yeah, to date, that program's made me like multiple six figures, I think, which is really good. So it's been definitely worth the investment.
That's so awesome. It's paid back many times.
A good one. And then learning how to do a launch or webinar launch was another big one as well. So when I did the one in November, that was maybe my like sixth or seventh like live launch. So I think just being consistent over time, like the first time I launched was not what I wanted it to be or like a huge success story. It was much to not hit my sales goals. But I think over time, just trying different stuff, repeating what worked, and then experimenting with new things and like tweaking things over time and just getting better each time. With launching, I think that really is the key. And it's the same thing with the discovery calls where it's like, you can't just look at it as like a rejection or like things didn't go well. You just have to see like, okay, what worked here, but also what am I putting in place for like future results? So it's the same with launching too. Like there's people who won't convert, but maybe later down the track, they'll think of you and think of your name and decide to reach out when they're ready as well. So it's not always even just like the sales results that you get within the launch. It's like even thinking about how you're setting up your business for future success as well.
And it's a domino effect from a launch as well, because it might be maybe the first touch point they've had in a more like launch type of way, and they might not be ready at that stage because people need to go through seasons and things to come to realize that, hey, I actually need help. I can't do this alone anymore. And then they come through like maybe the next launch or a few months later when they had, like for your clientele, a really bad flare up and they're like, I'm done with this. I need to get it resolved for good. So launching, I love what you say. It's not just that once off launch, but it's also learning from each launch. And I often say, you know, it's really about data, not emotion. So from each launch, you looked at what worked. I hope you're still keeping spreadsheets and things from each launch that we've given you and just really analyzing and looking at what can be tweaked and improved. Like even sometimes making that small little change can help to improve your webinar show up rate. And during the last launch, we talked a lot about that, getting more people on the webinar, because we know if we can do that, then that's going to, you know, just warm them up even more and increase the conversion. And sure, it did. So that was really amazing. And that's something I hope our listeners can also take away from this, is that when you do something, you put your way hard on your sleeve, you go out there and do it and launch for the first time, and you talk about your program for the first time. It's okay if you hear crickets, because it's only the first time. You got to keep doing it over and over again. But it's not just about consistency, but it's looking at what worked and what didn't, and then getting better at it each time. And you've been launching for the 7th time now, so it's 3-4 years of launching. So you've learnt a lot from this process. And so today, you know, obviously you're at a very good place in your business. I would love to chat about how you feel about where you are right now, because I know some people, they get to a stage of business, it's like one success after another, but sometimes it feels like there is that niggle in your head going, what if this doesn't last? What if this success is once off and doesn't repeat itself? How do you feel about that and about where you are right now?
Yeah. I feel like I've been a little bit of like a slow mover in business. Like I see some other people in a similar space and I'm like, wow, they've like built all these things. Some of them have apps and multiple programs and teams and all that. But I feel like for me, my strength has just been like consistency over time and just like continuing to show up and, like I said, improve things, double down on what works and try different things. And even as the market has changed over the last few years, like we have to shift and pivot in our marketing styles and, you know, the types of content we create and how we position and build our offers. But just consistency has been a big one. In terms of how I feel today, like I'm definitely very happy with where I'm at, and I have a lot of freedom now, and sometimes I even like take it for granted. I kind of forget like how much freedom I have. Like in terms of my week, I only see clients 2.5 to 3 days. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I reserve Monday for like admin time and also like podcasts, social media. And then Fridays are more project work. If I'm working on like a launch or a new offer, reserve time for that. And I don't take clients on Saturdays or Sundays, I won't even book like podcasts or interviews or anything on camera. I'm like very strict with that. And like I said, only fun work, which might just be like working on a blog or some YouTube stuff that's more fun to me. And I'll do that for a couple hours on the weekend, but not a ton of work. So definitely a lot more freedom. I do want to continue to like expand and work on other things. And like, it's always a work in progress, but definitely a huge shift where I'm at now versus 5 years ago.
And going back to that point that you brought up earlier about how you look at your peers in the space and some of them look like they are doing a lot more. I think that's something that we often compare ourselves with other people, you know, how far they're ahead versus where you are now. And we want to get there too. But I think it always comes back, and I always talk about this, you know, coming back to your core value. What do you value more? Because there always has to be a sacrifice in order to get somewhere, whether it's time, it's energy, it's relationships and things like that. And I absolutely don't think there's anything wrong with taking it at a slower pace, as long as the business is still growing and things are still improving, because your business has just been growing year after year. And especially last year, 2025 has been a bit of a weird year for a lot of people, where you see people going on sabbaticals and disappearing from social media and stuff like that. Sales are down for different businesses, but you have one of your strongest years. And I think it just really speaks to your effort and the fact that you've been so consistent, you haven't given up, and you've been able to build a more spacious schedule as a result of this as well. And I think you should be incredibly proud of what you've achieved.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point about values, actually. I would feel like my top value is health. So it is very important for me to get enough sleep every night. I train a lot, so I run and I lift 10 to 12 hours a week, which takes a lot of time and energy. So that's why like setting up those boundaries for me, not working late into the night or all day on a Saturday, is very important to me. So in a sense, is that maybe I've been a little slower to like build on things, but it's also helped me to be more consistent and not get to the point of burnout or feel like I have to recover for weeks after going really hard for too long.
Absolutely. Yeah, scaling fast can be scary as well. People can just crash and burn overnight because of that. I think absolutely it comes back to your values, what's important for you, how you measure success. I think, you know, that's another conversation to have about as well. What does success look like for you? Because for you, it could be having that time to spend at the gym, to train, to sleep well. For someone else, success could be hitting a certain metric goal, and everyone's success is very different. And so, yeah, let's talk a little bit about this in terms of how do you measure success? Do you have any tips or advice for someone who's listening, who's feeling behind?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I try not to look at it just as sales alone, and kind of look at the bigger picture, and again, drawing it back to like what my values are. So I think for me, just over the last like few years, just looking at the increase in freedom in my schedule, not being so booked up with client calls so that I have more room to do other things, being able to like work more in my zone of excellence, like that area where you're really skilled in, but you also feel very passionate about, and just the more time that I can spend there versus doing the work that I don't want to do, which for me has been like hiring a social media manager, getting people to help with video editing, hiring a VA. So kind of like offloading some of those tasks that I don't want to be doing all the time so that I enjoy where I spend my time more is definitely a big measure of success for me. And I think just how I feel like at the end of each quarter or at the end of the year, and just feeling like I have made strides in my business, but also feeling like I've maintained my health and my integrity at the end.
That's a big one. Yeah. And with scaling our businesses, you talked a little bit about hiring, having different people on the team to support you with areas that aren't necessarily your zone of excellence. How did you take that first step to make your first hire, your second hire, your third hire? What were some of the concerns that you have when you were hiring?
Yeah, I think my first hire was the social media manager. I don't love social media. Like I don't content creation.
And it's okay. A lot of people don't love it.
I don't love being like on my phone or posting, or I don't love like consuming content. So, but I do like to educate, and I do like to like create useful stuff, but I just don't want to spend all my time making like Canva graphics and thinking about the strategy. So hiring the social media manager was the first one. And I think that was Same thing with the business coaching. It was a big pain point for a while, something that I struggled with and I thought about for a long time. And I think just finding someone that I connected with and trusted and felt like had good results with other people was important to me. So just knowing that they had a good track record and then just taking the leap and seeing it as kind of like a trial, like let's just test out, see what happens, like see if it does give me back more freedom in my schedule, if it also as return on investment helps draw in leads and sell more of my offers, and kind of track whether it is worth it at the end of this 3 months and then 6 months period. So it was a big decision, but I was happy with it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And for the person who's perhaps looking for support in their business and they're looking for a business coach to help them, what advice do you have? It's not always, working with us, for example, we provide very high level support and we've got different programs. It's not a cheap investment, but it's also an investment that will pay you back for a long time to come. So what advice would you have for someone who's sitting on the fence about investing in business coaching support?
Yeah, it definitely is a big decision. I would say make sure it's someone that you connect with and trust. I think even if you're working with a healthcare practitioner, it's good to talk to a few different people and just get a sense of who you feel like vibes with you well. I think referrals are always good. So if you can talk to some of their past clients and get some behind the scenes feedback is always good as well. And then I think if you're looking for someone to kind of help you just map out what you want the next 3-6 months, year to look like, and you're really struggling with kind of direction and guidance, then I think a business coach would be a good step. Versus it may be something else that you need help with. If you're struggling a lot with video editing, then maybe hiring a video editor, or if it's just kind of admin tasks, then maybe a VA is your next step. But I think if you're looking for kind of that help with structure, guidance, and getting more clear on your goals and helping take your vision to the next level, then I think coaching is a very valuable investment.
Yeah, you have had me in your corner for a little while. I've had business coaches in my past as well. So speaking even for my own experience getting coaching, there is a lot of things that sometimes I just don't see working in the business. So, I love what you talked about, that strategy, someone to help you map out the next steps. Sometimes it's just overwhelmed. There's so many options, so many decisions to make, and it helps being able to talk it through with someone and helping them. And Leigh, because you've worked with me for a while, I'd love to hear kind of your perspective around what do you feel that me as your business coach has supported you in, the areas that you feel has really helped you to get ahead?
Yeah, as I said before, I think the two biggest ones were, one, developing the signature program. So you helped me nail down the niche and who I wanted to serve in both the balance of what is there a demand for, but also what am I passionate about, and kind of bringing those together. And then just the support through building that, because it was a lot of work to create the lessons and record and create all the handouts. So I think just being within that, because at that time I was doing I think you had a different name for it then, but it was the hybrid program where we had the one-on-one and then the group coaching as well. Just being able to check in and report on my progress. Definitely the value of accountability there was very helpful because it was a big undertaking. So just to have support as I went along and built that. And then later on, we'd work together again in your help with learning to launch and what strategies to try, and kind of having a framework to start with, and just being able to run ideas by you. I think it was very, very valuable at that time as well. So those things have served me very well because I continue to see people within my IBS program. And as we mentioned, I continue to launch as well. So those two things really kind of laid good groundwork for future business and continuing to build on them. And it's been a real return on investment.
Thank you, Leigh. Yeah. And it's been such a joy just watching you come out of your shell. As someone who said to me in the very early stages, I don't like social media. How can I grow my business without social media? I remember us talking about it, and just see you being able to use that as a tool to nurture your audience and to get clients, and increasing your prices, growing your business to the stage that it is now, hiring, investing, not just in your business, but also in your personal life as well. These are so fun to watch, and it's a joy to see you flourish as a business owner as well. So thank you for trusting me and giving me the opportunity to guide you on this journey. Awesome. Now, just a couple more things that I want to chat about for the listener who is perhaps earlier on in their journey. They've started out, they've been trying to get clients, but they're struggling to gain traction and they're kind of frustrated with leads and things like that. What would you say to that person who is finding it a challenge to get clients and to grow their business?
I think laying the foundation is very important, like getting very clear about who you're speaking to and who your program is for, and like really getting inside their mind and understanding, again, what their pain points are, their desires, and what would prompt them to buy or like sign up to work with you. And just being very clear on that and just taking that time to lay that groundwork before you're even creating content. And then I think in terms of content creation, like what's working now is showcasing more transformation, even if you do have some client results or client stories to share, or even how you've improved things on your own journey, and like just more content that like connects with your audience. I think trying to like sprinkle in a little bit of maybe education stuff, but we don't want to focus just on educational or tips or the how-to, because that doesn't encourage people to buy. They'll just like kind of land on your page and save it for free tips, but it doesn't really help them see how you could help them, or like how you can really change their life for the better. So I think just reframing social media there. And then, as I mentioned, just consistency, like continuing to show up, and you might not see results right away, but I think just continuing to work through things and try different things and see what works. And as you mentioned, like if you've been struggling for a while and you're lacking that guidance and you need help to know what to focus on, then I think working with a coach is a good investment as well.
Amazing. Thank you. And very well said as well. Don't give up too early after 1 or 2 tries. You know, there is so much for you to learn, a lot of lessons to learn from what we classify as failures. But the more you learn and tweak and improve, the better things will get. Yeah, so that's awesome. Leigh, thank you so much. Before we go, I'd love for you to just share a little snippet with our listeners on what are you working on next, and where do you see yourself in the next couple of years?
My goal is to work on building up my YouTube channel. So I've started a podcast last year. That was a big win for 2025, but I want to move the content onto YouTube as well. So that's a project that I'm interested in, I'm excited to work on. And then also developing a course component for my fitness program is the other focus for this quarter as well. So I'm excited about both of those. And in terms of 2 years, I guess just continuing to leverage and scale, and continue to build my business year over year.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your generosity in sharing your takeaways, your lessons, and inspiring our audience as well, Leigh. Appreciate that. If someone wants to connect with you further, where can they find you?
Instagram is good. It's Leigh Merotto _RD, or they can check out my website, gutfitnutrition.com.
gutfitnutrition.com. Awesome. I'll be sure to link that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Leigh. I will let you go, and I hope our listeners have gotten lots of takeaways from Leigh's experiences and lessons as she's growing her business as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to her. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to share some of her lessons with you further as well. Awesome. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this week. I'll see you back here next week. Take care.